Good morning, everyone, or good evening, as the case may be. Certainly morning for me. So we just hit 11 a.m. over here in New Zealand. And it is time for D&D chats, coffee, Cataplepis Death cheese, as is my specialty. Look at that evil block of... And you're going to be privy to me ranting a little bit this morning. Can anybody guess what I'm going to be ranting about? I'll give you a hint. It's got to do with my video before my announcement of memberships being enabled on the channel, which is fantastic, by the way. Welcome to all my new members of the channel. I was absolutely blown away by the response, everybody. It's been fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Oh, look, you get special, like, you got your icon and your name is a different colour in the chat. That's pretty cool. So I can tell where all my members are at. To the Fort Jesus. Running low on death cheese. Well, I've stockpiled it. So I've got some frozen cheese, but this is fresh cheese that has been sitting in my fridge for about 2 weeks now, so it's pretty ripe. Asylum X Productions, Inspector Lovecraft, thank you for becoming members. Hello Adam, hello Josh, Yanda, Kyle, Corey, Ewan, Abyssal Bibliography, Jacob, Nicholas, Justin. The membership thing is going really well. Thank you very much. I'm quite happy that my approach to it has been well received. I haven't had anybody moaning or whinging or anything about it, which is quite extraordinary, considering it is, you know, a change. Any change on a channel is always risky. Hey, nice one, Anton. Welcome to Bronze Dragon. In case you're wondering what this is my own homemade lemonade. Made from lemons and sugar and water. Lemons from the tree back by my clothesline outside. And it's delicious. But it's definitely a coffee morning. You did catch the start of the stream, Jethro. Well done. Coffee. Drinking my usual Robert Harris Irish cream breakfast coffee. Normally, I drink espresso, which is a blend of Robert Harris breakfast coffee and any other coffee. Depends on whatever's on sale. You're just in time, Kendrick. Hey, Jimmy. Yeah, it has. The Ravens won. I presume it's some sort of sports ball team. Oh, did the flare button not work? Maybe they've disabled the icons until they've sorted out their broken system. Let's hope. Yeah, so PSA to anybody who's a member who wants to use those icons, those special emoji that you have access to. YouTube has got a huge problem. If anybody's been paying attention to like Markiplier or Jeremy Hambley or various other people who are doing PSAs about what YouTube has done. So essentially, Markiplier was in one of his big long live streams, and he was about an hour and a half into the stream, and he was doing some sort of adventure thing where he's playing a game or something, and people were spamming either red icons or green icons to turn his character one way or the other or something like that. And YouTube's response to their perceived spamming of icons on his chat without any context was to disable their Google accounts, and then they members were trying to appeal to get their accounts turned back on. I mean, that's their Google account, not just their YouTube account, but everything associated with Google. Members were trying to get their accounts put back on again, and they just were flatly denied by YouTube. And then YouTube on Twitter said they responded to say that they carefully consider all claims, which is just a straight up pack of bullshit. They do not, or they basically have a massive sweatshop full of people who are very poorly trained and do not care about their job, who are just going deny with sick satisfaction, oblivious to the fact that they are wrecking people's lives. So that's my first little mini rant is Google, get your shit together. YouTube, this is your own feature that you have broken. And what's more, it's the most important people on the channel, the most loyal people who are actually paying subscriptions and stuff, who have become victimized by this. So it's absolutely ridiculous. One thing I will note is that channels that are not affected by this are late night TV shows that are reposting their war footage and all the stuff that's normally gets creators in trouble. So this is creators who are getting victimized by YouTube's bullshit antics, and it's not on. It's not okay. Not okay at all. It's great injustice. Talking of great injustice, another rant from the last video where I was talking about the Starspawn. And I made one little offhand comment about something that I'd read, and then it turned into this massive big thread with one or two particular members. There's only like 2 people commented their aggressive opinion to me about what I said, and it was in regards to my views on religion and stuff. And one thing that I've always made pretty clear on this channel is that it's my channel and I do what I want, and you know, I present things, but in no way have I ever presented myself as completely neutral, and never having any personal politics involved in the channel. That's just people's perceived perception of me, and it's something that I sort of keep in mind, that I don't want to offend anybody unnecessarily. We are here just to talk about games and stuff, but to completely divorce all religious talk from role-playing games, where the common content of my channel is talking about cosmology and gods and outer planes and stuff, because you ask me about this all the time. But to say, well, it's okay to talk about all these other religions because they're not real. I mean, you know, Norse mythology and Egyptian mythology, that's all made up stuff, right? But not these 2 religions. Oh, no, you can't talk about this without everybody jumping down my throat. Well, I say, with all due respect, this may not be the channel for you. If that's your attitude, then yeah, either all religions are valid or none of them are, basically. So yeah, I will talk about what I want on this channel, and I will have my own personal opinions and views. Yeah, so my after a lifetime of consideration, my general religious view is a pantheism, which is, even if there are gods or not, it doesn't matter to your day-to-day life. And here's the reasoning. If you look at multi-dimensional theory, so the theory that there are 10 dimensions of space-time, which seems to be correlated with experimental fact. So there are extra dimensions of movement above and beyond what we perceive. So we perceive our 4 dimensions, or so our space-time that we live in, and we can conceptualize beings that could move around in time or space willy-nilly. So one of the things about dimensions is they allow the inclusion of everything in them. So if I'm moving from one space to another, that allows me to step beyond the boundaries. So a creature that's living in flat land, flat space, for instance, has no concept of up or down. These spaces don't exist for it, so it's very hard for it to conceptualize going from one bit of the paper to another instantaneously, much like it's hard for us to conceptualize something who could just walk backwards and forwards through time or space, but we can get our mind around it. But the idea of walking from one potential reality to another, one path that the universe could have gone to another, or up and up and up in the hierarchy, is sort of beyond us. But it's safe to say that because we are living entities living in this dimensional space-time here, that anything that's living in a higher space-time includes life in it as well, because it incorporates everything in the lower dimensional strata. Now here's the thing. if there is life progressing all the way up to the 10th dimensional space, that means that as you go up there and it becomes more and more inclusive, at the very apex of it is one entity that incorporates everything. So we are cells, essentially, of some super entity that is probably most likely aware of everything that's going on in the universe around it. So that is the religious concept of a god, right? But much like we incorporate the cells in our body, every single cell in your body is an individual. So when I bite my fingernail, do the cells in my finger go to cell heaven? This is what I'm saying, that just because there's larger entities out there doesn't necessarily mean that we have to kowtow to them or that they care about us. We are them. So it doesn't matter one way or the other whether you believe in a larger entity or not. It's got no effect on the world that we live in today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And getting hung up about it and jumping down somebody's throat about it is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. More wars and death have been caused by this concept than anything else in human history. So my comment that role-playing games have not resulted in as much death and destruction as other sources of fiction is completely valid. So whatever. If one religion is regarded as fiction, it's only a matter of time until the next one is, and the next one is, and the iteration will continue on. There you go. That's the end of that rant. AJ is an Elhoon. Yeah, well, agnosticism is difficult because that's saying that there is no higher entities. And how do you prove that? How do you prove it? I think it's more logical that there is larger entities out there, just through scientific reasoning, logic. So the thing is, it's a larger entity, but we're a part of it. So we are the cells in this thing's body. So many religions have got that concept okay, you know. It moves through us, etc. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I care about every single cell in my body and you know, I'm not watching over my finger all the time, you know, and that's my own body. I'm not even paying attention to my own cells. I don't know how many cells there are in my body. I have no idea. Billions. So come at me in the comment section. I will slam you straight back. In a polite fashion, of course. But coming at me like, you have to prove what you say. It's like, no, I don't. No, I don't. Science is doing an admirable job of that for me. Exactly, same Riser. 2 books written in the last 100 years. We killed more people than D&D ever could. Forgotten Realms stole Ogma from Wizards of the Coast. So, talking about universal law and justice and stuff. Thank you, Adrian. I can't say this is 100% Sunday is football day in America. Might not be a good day. Also, if you have any complaints about deities, argue with Wizards of the Coast. True. Robert Martinelli, thank you very much. PC's investigating murders in a trade city that will eventually lead to a coven of night hags running an insane asylum. Any tips on doing covens right? So covens have got their own internal politics. So hags are very, very selfish beings. So they're always hedging their bets just in case everything falls apart. So they'll have dirt on each other. So one thing you can do is look for the fractions between the different hags. So present to your players clues that the hags may have secret weapons stored up against the other hags in their coven that the players can use to weaken the overall situation. So my theory is that players who spend the time investigating and pre-fighting, so working their skills and non-combat investigation to further their chances if it comes to combat, should always be rewarded for that, because anything that the players are putting effort into at the table, any sort of outcome they're striving to achieve that is fun for them, should be encouraged and rewarded. Yeah, I mean, the dice will fall where they may, but you should always provide avenues that they can get to the outcome that they want if they just persevere, with hardships and stuff along their way. So when they fail at a dice roll, it's going to include a complication that will make it harder to achieve their goal. But never, I'm not saying never shut off their goal because of a series of bad dice rolls, because that would make dice rolls pointless. But certainly, dice rolls that are bad can be very complicated. They can be disastrous in combat, obviously. If you roll 12 natural ones in a row, for instance, you're going to be in big trouble. So yeah, look for those fractions in the coven of the Night Hags. Also, Night Hags are going to have a lot of obligations, and they're going to have a lot of clients, and they're going to have a lot of ties, and also they're going to be able to pull rabbits out of the hat, really nasty rabbits that come from Hades and various other places. So yeah, they'll have complications because their presence will just increase evil overall, and that's problematic for them as well, because they have to contend with evil creatures also. Does that mean the flying spaghetti monster is real? What type of stats should it have in a 5e adventure? I have no idea. I would just say reskin one of the other gods. I don't know how powerful this flying spaghetti monster should be. Well, that was 2 rants, Ed. Yeah, just be a good person. Just treat everybody like their versions of yourself, essentially. I mean, because that's essentially true. Treat everybody like they're just you living a different life. Treat others how you would want to be treated is the whole kernel of it. And you don't need any belief to do that. You just have to be raised right and understand consequences. The more intelligent you are, the more aware of consequences for bad action you should become. I like him. Hey, Denny. Flying Spaghetti Monster is clearly a great old one. Yeah, I would say so. Weirdly organic nature to it. Mind you, if you look at Norse origin myth, how would I run a Nightwalker, AJ? I would run away from a Nightwalker. Nightwalkers are potent forces of of evil, of entropy. So they are like death walking around in the prime material world. They can only come through to the prime material world under special circumstances. So I'd say read up on the lore of Nightwalkers. Try and find instances where they've been used in modules and campaigns. Nightwalkers is one of those things that they're a boss monster, so they're never encountered alone. They'll have a force of undead with them. Hades, the man, the myth, the legend. Hey, Seamus. Nice to see you back from basic. That's so basic. Yggdrasil is more of a transitive plane that is a tree than a great old one. I don't know there's ever been an instance of Yggdrasil doing something like being a self-aware sapient. Do I think that Despater's plan for the future? What do you think Despater's plan is for the future in the Nine Hells? I don't know. Yeah, you missed the rant. I don't know really. Despater seems to be quite happy in Dis. Dis is a horrible city in the Nine Hells. It's not quite as dungeony. Like, it's not torture chambers like the realm of the Chain Devils, the Chitons, which hang in the ceiling of a massive cavern from huge iron chains up above Dis. But Dis is pretty much what you would expect the one of the worst cities in the world to be. So it's stock full of devils and victims, and all sorts of shady deals going on. It's where they keep a lot of prisoners and horrible monsters that they've brought from different planes of existence. Yeah, so it's a city in the Nine Hells. It's a fortification, a fortress. Your mother's a Nightwalker. There is an evil Yggdrasil? New Jersey. I've never been to New Jersey. I couldn't judge. So lately I've been playing some Traveller. Mongoose's Traveller 2nd Edition. Which is actually pretty good. As always, Traveller's a simple system that uses 2 6-sided dice, so you can play it anywhere, really. And it's pretty good. Then we've got Pathfinder, so I'm going to be referring more, a little bit, every now and then, to Pathfinder monsters. So the Pathfinder bestiary here is, I'm going to be making a video about Inevitables this week, and also the False Hydra, which is the one that I'm working on in the background right now. So the Inevitables in Pathfinder are really good compared to the Inevitables in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm not entirely sure where 5th edition is going with the Inevitables, like the Marut and stuff in there, because they seem to have some sort of a problem with the idea of cosmic law enforcers per se. I don't know if they are shying away from it, or they just don't get it, or they just are not happy with how Maruts were handled in previous editions. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm going to be looking at that and investigating that and seeing how they stack up against each other. So it's a war of the editions this week. Hey, Robert Wilson, thank you very much. This is Hartford, Connecticut, my state's capital. Ooh, okay. I've never heard a bad word about Hartford, Connecticut until this day, I must say. Hey, thanks, Sun Warrior. Gold Dragon. I wish that made like a background noise like in Twitch. Hey, Michael. Not much. Just, hanging out with the peeps. Space Cops, yeah. Yeah, the False Hydra is not what I expected. See, this is one of the instances where somebody has requested a video for something that I'd never heard of. Then, as soon as I went and investigated and found the Goblin Punch blog where it's from, and started reading about this thing, I was like, oh, I can see why this is so popular. This is a horrible creature. So, yeah, I'm going to try and bring the feel of the False Hydra to people so they truly understand how horrible this creature is. What's my favourite setting to play in? Well, Forgotten Realms, because I'm so familiar with it. Don't listen to him. New Jersey is the second safest state in the US. Most of the stereotypes come from Newark, Hoboken, and the TV show Jersey Shore. I've never seen Jersey Shore, ever, in my entire life. Something that I just instinctively avoid. Thanks to you for your tweet. Is that you, Anton, your tweet? Thanks for the tweet, by the way. I'm only new to the Tweetiverse. Hey, Winter Swede. See you later, Winter Swede. Pathfinder is Pathfinder, yeah. I mean, it's cool. There's been a lot of comment about the Unearthed Arcana, big lot of Unearthed Arcana they brought out being more of an attempt, like being an attempt to compete with Pathfinder. I don't think that's the case. The only reason, really, I mean, realistically, the only reason why Pathfinder got ahead and actually outpaced D&D sales for D&D's overall sales was because of 4th edition and the reaction of the community to how big a departure 4th edition was from the previous edition. But I don't think that's the case now. I don't think there is as much kickback against 5th edition at all from traditional players of the game. Those people who like playing Pathfinder, or those people who are just Pathfinder curious, you could say, it's a fantastic system. You should definitely pick it up. I think they've done a really good job of it. It is a heavy investment though. So, you know, but these are really good quality books and stuff. You're not going to go wrong. These things are going to last you for a very long time. The binding on these books, so if you've got a Pathfinder book, you'll notice that they've got stitching through the sections of pages as well as gluing them to the fabric lined back cover. So they are very well bound books, as opposed to Wizards of the Coast, who, as we know, have cut the price on their printing practices, and they have not cloth bound their books at all. So these things, they look the same, but they don't have the stitching on the pages. So these pages can actually pull free from the glue on the back of the thing. So they've basically got individual bits of paper that are stuck onto the glue, just like a notepad that you would tear pages off from. So these will not last you for 30 years. Sunday stream. Yeah. Well, it's Sunday from your perspective, it's Monday from mine. So as soon as I finish the stream, I'm going to get straight back into making videos. It's also got the most taxes. Interesting. Running your game tonight, and my level 16 player, 6 of them, will be fighting a goblin they will smash, but I plan on buffing him. Buffing one single goblin? Question, AJ, do you know if any good creatures that spread disease or plagues? I'm planning a stereotype with were-rats and encounter. Oh, yeah, that should do it. Were-rats are perfectly good. Sturges would definitely spread diseases. Any sort of vermins, parasites, rot grubs, undead, of course, would spread disease like nobody's business. But yeah, lycanthropes are well known to be loathsome creatures, so diseased in general. Is Aussie, AJ, or Kiwi? You can just ask me directly. I'm a Kiwi, a New Zealander. Kia ora, kei te pehe a koe. Bah, only reason Pathfinder gets sales is because White Wolf fell off. Whatever. White Wolf just basically stopped publishing stuff, or the community turned toxic or disinterested in buying new products, I guess. They had a grand scheme, and they did come up with some really good concepts, like the whole idea of factions. That was spawned by White Wolf. So mage, werewolf, vampire the masquerade, that is where Planescape factions and the idea of factions of the Harpers and the Lord's Alliance and the Zentarum and all that is all directly inspired by that concept that was championed by White Wolf. So yeah, certainly I'm not dismissing White Wolf, I'm just saying. Just want your red dragon statue that was like 2008. Yeah, this one. Yeah, it is pretty cool. Oh yeah, this is the ship that I 3D printed and painted up. Quite nice, I think. Pretty cool. Proper 28mm scale. So it gives you some idea of how big this dragon is compared to a frigate. Yeah. It's good to crush you. Hey, thanks, Robert. What stats and spells should I give the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus? Oh, somebody asked me this. I've no idea. I've never seen Hocus Pocus. Never. So I'll have to look that up. Sorry. Thanks, Barob. Just because. Oh, thank you. That's kind. You guys are so nice. Spawn of Caius. So yeah, the Starspawn that I didn't cover, the maggot mage, the creature with robes and a body made out of slimy maggoty things. That is going to have its own video soon. You still got rage cards. Nice. Ideas for a mimic as an NPC. Well, you could present mimics as a... You know how mind flayers start off as tadpoles, and the tadpoles, when left alone, can actually turn into neolithids, or those big giant psychic worms, and that the elder brains are essentially bioengineered, because you have to have the illithid tadpole transform a humanoid body, and then the brains from those humanoid bodies, through that transformative process, can be combined together into the sort of undead intellect of the elder brain. And the elder brain continues on this conversion of illithid tadpoles into mind flayers, because that's how you get more elder brains. So really, they're a distinct species of construct that is self-perpetuating through that. But the natural form of the mind flayer is actually the illithid tadpole and the neolithid. So mind flayers are an artificial species, self-constructed sort of thing. They're a transformed, or they're a transhuman species. If you get a mimic and look at a mimic as a basic species that can be transformed into something else, obviously what it can be transformed into is a doppelganger. So doppelgangers could be the mimic version of mind flayers. Or what if illithid tadpoles, or one elder brain, decided to experiment on creating specific types of mind flayers from other types of species with wildly different physical properties? Because that concept, that mind space of that sort of biotechnology is wide open to adaptation and innovation in your game. So what would happen if a mind flayer elder brain decided to stop using humanoids as test subjects and instead tried to incorporate mimic illithid tadpoles and create some sort of a doppelganger mind flayer force out of that? They'd probably still have to eat brains, but you know. Yeah, I've never seen Hocus Pocus. Thanks, Michael Jacobson. Mark Rain Hagen got sick of the rigmarole and wanted out. I'm an old timer, been playing Vampire the Masquerade before it was a game, became friends with Mark. This was a sad day when he decided to stop. Yeah, so yeah, that sort of thing can happen. For sure. People get burnt out, you know. One of the best bits of advice I've heard for anybody who wants to get into YouTube or any sort of streaming and stuff like that, or any sort of thing where they're putting themselves out in the public, particularly with YouTube where you have to keep at it day by day, week by week sort of thing, is just be yourself. Don't put on any sort of character when you're talking to people through YouTube or anything like that, because it's going to burn you out. You're going to get sick and tired of it. You're going to feel disingenuous. You're going to feel unmotivated to do it. Just be yourself. So this is me. This is what I'm like. I'll probably swear more in private life. I don't know. You'd have to ask Ian. Oh, thanks, Nicholas. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. I have noticed that YouTube has definitely upped the ante on the channel. So you're going to see a lot of strange people you don't recognize, commenting on videos, because YouTube, because the channel has now become a membership channel. So in effect, very cynically, it's earning more money for YouTube because they take 30% of the cut of any memberships, which is like 20% more than Patreon, I think. But Patreon has its own problems and issues as well. Like, I don't like the politics of Patreon in particular, or the way that they censor people and things like that. I don't really like how YouTube does that either. Is there a perfect system out there? I don't know. So yeah, the channel is definitely taken off. What are you talking about, Corey? Well, yes, there are psychic dragons in Forgotten Realms lore, for sure. How that translates over into D&D 5th edition would be you would use spells to do the same thing. So there's spell equivalents of every single psychic power if you wrangle it a little bit. What they should do, I think, in one of their Unearthed Arcana things is present a Scion as a spellcasting type character class. Just like legitimately decide and say, look, there is never going to be a separate psychic system. This is what psychic powers are in 5th edition. They should just do it. Stop farting around with mystics and stuff like that and just say, look, we're not going to do it. Because how many years has it been now? It's too late to incorporate psychic stuff into D&D 5th edition. Everybody needs to just basically face the facts. They're not going to do it. Yeah, that's the thing, Michael. Plus, I guess I've just gotten out of the habit of swearing, I think. I've grown up a little bit. Making videos all the time and reading from scripts and things, it actually changes the way that you talk in real life. Like, I don't say and as much as I used to, which is weird. I've scripted my life. I actually went back and watched the first video. I think it was the video on Carceri, was the first video back in 2017 where I was starting to read from a script. And you can almost hear the change immediately. Oh, this is the real me, yeah. The horror. Ha ha. Thanks. I'm quite fond of this hat too. I've basically got 3 of the same hat. Yeah, Jimmy, that's the real concern, isn't it? YouTube is playing this weird game. And what it's going to result in is YouTubers are going to get a union. It's inevitable at this point. In fact, I think pretty soon, Jorg Sprav and the YouTubers Union, Fairtube, are going to enact Operation Shitstorm, and I'm interested to see what that's going to be, because I am a participant in that. I believe that we do need a union and we do need fair representation. You guys do need protection for the investment that you've made into the channel and stuff, and you do need certainly protection against Google, who has demonstrated that they will wreck people's lives for no reason. I've become my YouTube personality. Nah, my YouTube personality is me. The secret revealed, AJ is some old guy. Old? I'm almost 47. So, I'm getting there. I mean, from a wizard's point of view, I'm just a spring chicken, really. I'm a whippersnapper of a wizard. Exactly same, Riser. Yeah, so a bit of advice I would give you as a role player and as a human being is learn how to swear without using swear words. Learn how to properly insult somebody using the English language as it is intended, as a poetic tool to tear somebody to shreds. Learn how to use that, what do bards use? Cheeseomancer. There's got to be a cheeseomancer somewhere. Thanks, Matthews. Hi. Do you think alignments can have a different moral code they are built on? Example, self-sacrifice for others is good act. Can it be abandoned? Yes, absolutely. In fact, if you have a look at the Palladium role-playing system, for instance, their alignment system is quite different. They have 3 broad categories of alignments, which is good, selfish, and evil. So instead of saying neutral, they say selfish, which, when you think about it, makes a lot more sense. Neutral is selfish. So you can be evil selfish or good selfish. How can you be good selfish? Well, you can reason how things influence yourself. So you're always looking at things from your perspectives of how it affects you as a selfish person. You're narcissistic, essentially. But that still doesn't prevent you from doing good things. You can just say, well, it'll be good for me if I do this and I'll have the appearance of being good. So that will bring benefits to me. So you reason, yeah, yeah. So in the whole, the selfish good person, the neutral good person, is saying, well, I don't do it because of everybody else. I just do it because it affects me well. So, yeah. Selfish evil is, of course, taking something because you want it, or avoiding doing something because you want to be lazy, that sort of thing. So yeah, you can definitely play up a different type of alignment system. Vicious mockery, thank you. Lactomancer. That sounds so bad. Yeah. The English language is essentially this amorphous beast that takes what it wants from other things. Language is cultural appropriation. While I agree with you, Adrian, I don't want to talk about politics. Narcissistic mutualism, yeah. Philosophy, words. Hey, you goat. It has been a long time. Hey, Buried Axeblade. Philanthropic evil. Why is fluoride evil? Why do people think that? I don't know. Chaotic stupid. Yeehaw! I'm the same age as your father who also got you into D&D. No, I am your father. No! Cheese Whiz is short for Cheese Wizard. I did not know that. I've never tried Cheese Whiz. If anybody wants to send me some Cheese Whiz, I'll eat it on stream, for sure. Ideas for how Kobold Noble may come to be. I'm making one. Well, back in the day, before the Dragon Rage on Faerun, for instance, or in any world where dragons can operate as draconic society, they took over elven nobility in some cases. So it's possible for the servants of the dragons who are in charge of an elven kingdom, like the Gold Elves in particular, to award land and title to the kobolds. So it's quite possible to have a kobold noble. And essentially that's all it means. It's just they've got status, they've got lands, they've got title, and people call them my lord. Thanks, Robert. Revive Irish Gaelic to its true glory. Well, all you got to do is travel to the Outer Hebrides Islands, where they speak Gaelic as their first language. And yeah, it's thriving well and good over there. I had the pleasure of meeting some ladies from Uist in the Outer Hebrides, and I was talking to them one day. We were standing on Venice Beach, of all places, and they were talking together in a group, and then they started talking to each other, and they just slipped into Gaelic. So I didn't realise at first, because of their accent, that they weren't speaking English anymore, because the accent sounds exactly the same. I just didn't. They just went from speaking English to speaking gibberish, and it was the weirdest transition I've ever heard in my life, because I'd never really heard Gaelic spoken fluently, and it's a beautiful language. Beautiful. Tiny spiders, but with Eldritch bite instead of blast. Eldritch blast instead of a bite. Yeah. Don't do the Cheese Whiz. You don't want Cheese Whiz. Lol. Hey, I'll try it. I tried Spam. Matthews, thank you. Kobold question. Culturally or inherently evil? Yeah, the age-old question of, are kobolds evil? Yes, kobolds, the way that I've always run kobolds in my game is they work for dragons, and they don't care about anything but dragons and each other. So they only care about draconic supremacy, because they believe they've got an ultimate tiny creature syndrome. So they know that they are dragons. They have the blood of dragons. They feel the dragon supremacy and arrogance in them, thrumming in their soul. But they realize that they are the weakest of all dragon kind. So what kobolds will do is they'll ingratiate themselves with the party. They'll be the helpful guide. They'll be the cute little prankster that does cute things and is nice and stuff. And then at the opportune moment, they will betray them to a dragon or a dragon, half dragon or something like that. They'll be very confused about Dragonborn until they realise that they're false dragons. And they might be confused about lizard folk and troglodytes and things like that, but they'll just call them scaly kind, as in lesser scaly people. Dragons, on the other hand, see kobolds as helpful little cute minions, because the kobolds are always extremely nice and giving and generous and complimentary and just love dragons. So why would the dragons see kobolds as anything bad? They may go, oh, you little scamps, you shouldn't have killed those humanoids that came in here to see me. And the kobolds would just be like, but they're mean, they're nasty, they're horrible creatures. And it's like, well, you've got to understand them a little bit better. So the dragons are like almost parental relationship with the kobolds. But of course, it depends on the dragon personality. Black dragons and green dragons and stuff, of course, are very evil towards kobolds and kill them off on a regular basis. But the kobolds just see that as, in their blind sort of infatuation, they're just killing the weak. They weren't worthy to serve our Lord and Master. So the perception of kobolds evil is race-based more than anything. Kobolds behave differently to different people. The more you are like a dragon, the less likely kobolds are to victimize you. The more you do, the more beneficial, or the more they perceive that you are beneficial to dragons or like dragons like they do, the better they will behave towards you. Hey, Eric. What mapping programs do you use for Dungeons and Dragons maps, if you use any? I don't generally use any. I have used Incarnate before, but typically I will just grab whatever I need off Google. Power word cheese for everyone. Silver kobolds, yeah. You love spam? Well, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, spam is fine. As a food product, I mean, hey, the icon's working. Nice. The flare icon is working. Careful about using that too many icons though, everybody. Just a reminder, don't spam icons or emoji, because I'm very worried about what Google's been doing. That looks pretty good. I'm glad that worked out. Why are Dragonborn false dragons? The origin of Dragonborn is that they're ordinary mammal humanoids who were transformed by Bahamut into draconic beings. So they were not supposed to be. Originally, they weren't a separate race of dragonfolk, because that would render spell scales kind of obsolete. Spell scales are a type of humanoid dragonfolk, so they're like imagine you crossed an elf with a kobold. That is kind of what a dragon scale, the spell scales are like. They're naturally sorcerous entities. Or imagine a dragon soul sorcerer bred true, and their children were more and more draconic every year until you had these basically humanoid draconic beings. That's the spell scales. So they're flamboyant. They've got a lot of personality. They're pretty. They have iridescent scales and things, and they cast magic like a natural born sorcerer would. But they haven't shown up in. I don't think they were in 4th edition, and they certainly aren't in 5th edition yet. Yeah, don't nuke us, Overlord Google. Well, I wouldn't say kobolds. Okay, yeah, kobolds are racist. Kobolds are racist. They are. It's a basic fact. Gnomes aren't a folklore creature. They were invented by a British author in the 1800s. Well, no. Gnomes are based on kobolds. Kobold is the word for gnome in Germanic, and Germanic culture has had, oh man, you can find, I know a lot about garden gnomes, instances of garden gnome use back in 5,000 years 5,000 years ago. So Kobolden are basically the spirits of a location that is represented by an icon that is like left as a little mini totem out in your front yard, sort of thing. Tilt 5. Somebody mentioned Tilt 5? AJ, got a task for you. Convince Hankerin from Runehammer that Tilt 5 is good. He doesn't like it. Hank, there's nothing you can do to stop it. So you might as well suck it up and accept it. Because Tilt 5 is the next generation console that everybody is going to be using in the RPG industry and various other industries. If you go to the Tilt 5 Kickstarter homepage and just see the reaction of people who have used it, you'll see that it's visually spectacular. It feels like you're in a Star Wars version of the future. The future has arrived. You've got this holographic display in front of you that you can interact with. People can role play at the same table from different parts of the world. People with disabilities who can't be there in person can have the feeling that they're sitting at a game table involving, miniatures and that sort of stuff. It's supported by a lot of really big hitting companies. So there's going to be all sorts of different applications for its use, like control systems and traffic control systems, all that sort of stuff. Will have these as consoles that people will be using at places of work. So it's going to be ubiquitous. It's a form of technology which has arrived and it's not going to go anywhere. So in a way, it doesn't really matter whether you like it or not. So I would just say, suck it up. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself insane. It's like not liking cars. It's like horses are better. Well, cars are here, so there's not much we can do about it. Also, love your work. Well, hopefully maybe somebody will direct him to that part of the stream. Who knows? I do go on his stream every now and then, but his streams are very busy. Blunt, yeah. How would I adapt 40k monsters to D&D? Quite easily, really. So you've seen the video that I did on Warhammer 40k Orcs. So there's a video on that. I think the Tyranids and the Orcs are the most interesting. I think using the concept of the Tau, for instance, like imagine you get some like the Tau are basically the Githzerai. So they're these astute, psychically powered, very zen, but potentially manipulating and evil overlords that could actually combine the powers of different savage races by psychically controlling them. So the Tau aircast use pheromones or some sort of psychic power to control and artificially fold in these other races into their empire. So the Kroot and stuff like that. The Kroot are fantastic. They're super adaptable, so they can eat something and take on the traits of that creature, which is incredibly handy for landing on a world and adapting to its environment. Or if you're trying to hunt a creature, find its natural predator, eat a bit of that natural predator, then you gain the abilities to hunt that creature that you're going after a lot better. Hey, thanks, William. What's up with what? The Tower, a bunch of space commies. Yeah, well, they're a bunch of controllers, that's for sure. Eldar, yeah, the Eldar are basically elves. True. They're a Ladrin, you could say. More interesting, though, is the Dark Eldar, so they're the Drow. Kroot are awesome. I particularly like the Kroot and the way they talk. How would I adopt the World of Darkness to D&D? I don't know. I don't really know enough about it. Bit films, yeah, the tower are a bit flimsy up close. It's true. Do I like fish eggs, aka roe? Maybe cod roe. Not really. Well, I like caviar, I suppose, and smoked salmon roe, or snapper, or kingfish. Ah, thanks for asking, Brandon. Yes, I'm currently running a Tomb of Annihilation game on Tuesdays. They're quite far into Chult at the moment. They're going up the river to um, the Aldani Basin. So they're about to hit the Aldani Basin. And they've just seen a floating rock, a big floating rock, about 50 miles distant, if those of you who know what part of the adventure that is. Hello! The 13th in Melbourne. Don't worry about it, William. Yeah, I'm not going to be adapting anything from World of Darkness. Brett, how do you like Mr. Rex's D&D content now that he does way more of it? I remember you shouted out his Astral Dragons video once. Yeah, well, Mr. Rex has got a huge audience. He gained a lot of subscribers through his gaming content, so video streaming gaming stuff. And he's branched out into D&D, so, you know, the secrets, or what they don't tell you about red dragons, all those videos. And it's just spreading awareness of D&D to an audience. I think there's a bit of overlap between our audiences, but he has a wide audience that are not aware of my channel and don't watch my stuff. So I'm absolutely happy that he's spreading D&D lore to such a huge audience. So it's great, and I do like his work. Yeah, I am a Black Templar fan, actually. No spoilers, Ian, because we're basically just running the adventure for you guys. If you're not allergic to shellfish, then have to try white clam pizza. It's life-changing. I suppose so. I quite like shrimp on my pizzas. Why, World of Darkness doesn't seem too bad if you just get past the left wing. Get past the left wing as... Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Companies run the risk of, on the one hand, using radical politics as a marketing tool is a really bad idea. It's probably good for spreading awareness over the short term, but it's going to get somebody like me to avoid it like the plague. So, on the one hand, people will become aware of their product through, you know, the outrage culture thing, spreading the message. But on the other hand, it's not going to be picked up and promoted by more conservative, moderate channels like my own. What's my favourite construct? Paper golems. One of the things, that's a very good point, Matthews. So one of the things with handling mages in D&D and the potential power gap between them and other character classes is magic being ubiquitously available to them without any reasoning in the story whatsoever. So if the characters are out in the middle of the wilderness and everybody levels up and the fighters are like using these, they've gained the ability to use more techniques and things like that, where did the training take place? Where did the mage get the new knowledge from? Where did they get these new spells from? Were they just already in their spell book and they just suddenly learned how to read them? So at some point it's okay to say, no, you can't learn new spells because you're 50,000 miles away from your local wizard academy. There's just none around unless you go on a little mini adventure to go and find some. Or one of the other things is they spend a lot of money. Mages spend a lot of money on what they do because they need to buy new alembics, and they need new components and things, and they're rare herbs and spices and gems that are used in spell use. So pay attention to the components, pay attention to the potential damage to their spell book if they get hit with a vat of acid, or somebody hits them with fire or something like that. Potions and things. The fatigue, the constant mental fatigue that spellcasting causes, can have other detrimental effects on their relationships and lifestyle. Casting spells every single day can get exhausting, particularly if they're doing it up to the point of exhausting all their spell slots. It's just like, that's actually going to cause you some, if you do that day after day after day after day, you may actually get a level of exhaustion. And of course, time. It takes time to learn new spells, and particularly if the characters want to research new spells and come up with spells of their own. So you could say, okay, you know that the spell exists. You're 50,000 miles away from a wizard academy, so you can actually research and try to create the spell on your own. And then when you get back to a wizard academy, you can compare notes and see how you did. Because a lot of the thing, like, why would they have a spell book unless it's filled up with a lot of their own thoughts and notes on how to make that spell work? Thanks to Wall. Just saw the T5 advertisement video. Looks promising. The Tilt 5. How open is it to other developers and modders? Incredibly open. Like, if you look at the Kickstarter page and look down at the people who are involved in developing software for it, because the Tilt 5 is hardware. So they have developed a chip. They built a chip from scratch and all this sort of stuff. So they don't grab existing existing technology. They've actually made the technology for it. So it's taken them 3 or 5 years to create this stuff. Anyway, so there's all sorts of companies which are developing stuff for it. So what should we call it? Fantasy Grounds, Wizards of the Coast. Various game developers, lots of companies. The guy that developed the holographic chessboard game on the Millennium Falcon, he's involved in developing software for it as well. So yeah, it's huge. Thanks, Michael. Well, I got my head out. My game starts in an hour. You've got to head out. Your game starts in an hour, and I need food. Love your stuff. Question: would there be a possibility in a lore collab with you and Rex? That's entirely up to him. I've never actually spoken with the guy, but I'm open to collabing with anybody. Certainly looking forward to collabing with Jordan, PH Silent, from Forgotten Realms Explained. Lollipop Golem, 1d8 bludgeoning damage in cavities. I like it. Yeah, the problem with doing crossovers with YouTube is one, we all have our own style and method of making videos. That works for us, and YouTubers are creatures of habit. We don't like disruptions to our way of doing things. Also, I live on the other side of the planet, in another hemisphere, a day ahead of everybody else, 12 hours separated from like Geneva, and it's really hard for me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and deal with somebody who's about to head to bed at night. So it's taxing, really. I am quite happy to collab with people, but it doesn't happen as often as I'd like. I think the last proper collab that I did was with Arthur Godawa from the Monsters. Arthur Godawa's Monster channel. I haven't really had a look at the Unearthed Arcana Rogue variant yet, Nathan. There's a lot of people doing review videos and stuff like that on it. I suggest go and check them out for sure. I deal more with published content instead of the playtest stuff. And bear in mind, the Unearthed Arcana stuff is not official until it's printed in something, in a source book or something like that. It's just playtest material that you can play around with and use. So essentially, it's been a few years, and they want to give people some extra options to spice up their game. One of the things I think was quite well addressed was the idea of certain classes being able to swap out spells as they go up in level. I do live in the same island, on the same island as the How to D&D guy. Yeah, we've never actually met though. Hopefully one day. Yeah, this is the thing. Paleoderma. So I feel no competition with other people doing D&D videos because different people like to listen to different styles of videos and different types of voices and things like that. So me and Mr. Rex and Jordan could all put out a video on Astral Dreadnoughts in the same week, but we would each have a different way of presenting it. We'd have a different voice, we'd have a different way of speaking, we'd have a different way of constructing our videos, and those would appeal to different audiences. So it's perfectly fine. I think the more people making videos about D&D, the better. Yeah. In the past, there have been YouTube creators who have looked at other people making videos on the same topic as competition, as business competition for them. I think that is an extremely unhealthy and myopic way of looking at things. It's a selfish alignment way of looking at things, and it doesn't really it bites yourself in the foot. Like you can't. I'm certainly not the spokesman for D&D, and it would be extremely unwise of me to behave that way. Because that would damage the hobby and it would damage my livelihood, and it would be self-defeating. So the more the merrier. Oh, Puffin Forest, yes. I'd love to run a game with those. I really love the animated spellbook. His games that he plays, they're really, really good. Dale, Monarch Factory, yeah. I'll probably meet Dale one day, hopefully. If she ever makes it to a convention or something at the same time. You never know, she might have been at PAX for all I know. Could have walked right past her. A boxing match? No, I'm too old for that shit. Thanks, Fishler. Yeah, so I've been encouraged. On the one hand, there's people who don't like the sort of story stuff that I do at the start of videos, but there's a lot of people who do, and I quite enjoy doing them. So it won't be a 100% of the videos will have a story element at the start of them, but a significant amount of them will, because I need to cater to both audiences essentially. Like I enjoy doing them, but I don't want to get roped into doing it every single video. So some of the videos I'll just be talking about creatures and their stats and things like that, but other videos I'll really get into narrating a story world. Also, my word is law indeed. I hope not. Oh, the mighty glue stick. So crafting is how I started this channel in the first place. I was doing a lot of paper crafting where I was printing out things. Like, for instance, if you got the Lost Mine of Phandelver, printed out the map, and then you cut out all the elevated bits, and you stack them up with some cardboard underneath. So you don't have to paint it, but you make this 3D model of it just using some printed paper, which involves a lot of glue sticks. So that is where the name of the channel came from, the Mighty Glue Stick. My very first video was me just presenting a beholder that I was sculpting, and yeah. Beholders, as you may see, I use beholders and beholder artwork a lot on my channel because that's the harkens back to the origin of this channel. So the mighty glue stick is, I'm actually referring to my mighty power with a glue stick, either a craft glue, like a paper glue stick, or a hot melt glue stick. Either way, you'd be amazed at what you can do with those things. It's time for me to go, everyone. Yeah, I was at PAX Australia. It was fantastic, man. I had a great time. Wizards are incredibly important to D&D society. Because, like, for instance, abjuration wizards are very good at dealing with incursions of creatures, the supernatural, into a world. So if the City Watch is dealing with a cult or something like that, they don't get blasted by spells and things, or have sniveling demons and stuff crawling all over them. So they will call in abjuration wizards to help. I need a branded glue stick. Yeah. No. Yeah. So, like, if you want your place of business protected against magical thievery, then you would call on the Wizards Academy to get an abjuration wizard or something like that to come and cast wards and spells that protect your place from magical larceny. So, for instance, they'd make a lot of money. Arcane Forge, yeah, of course, yeah. I love Josh, man. Josh is awesome. I'm one of his Patreon supporters, actually. He did the video. He did the artwork of my my logo for my channel. He's an awesome guy. I even tolerate him posting vegan meals on Facebook. Sovereign and glue stick. Okay, so we're back to a Saturday stream next week, or a Sunday stream for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. And I'll catch you all later. Good stream, everyone. Thanks for tolerating my rant at the start of it. For those of you who missed the rant, go back and check this video once it uploads. Shout out to all the other YouTubers out there who have been mentioned during this video. Hanker and Ferndale, Runehammer, Jordan, the PH is silent, from Forgotten Realms Explained, Mr. Rex, How to D&D, Arcane Forge, have a good day, everybody. Or a good night's sleep. Have a good day tomorrow.